The phone rang at 11:47 p.m., just as Mara Ellis reached for the kitchen light. A frightened nurse whispered that Mara's daughter had never been discharged, despite what the private clinic had claimed for 6 weeks. Who had signed Lily's papers? Why had every request for records been denied? And why did the clinic send security to Mara's apartment before dawn? They saw only a tired single mother with overdue bills. They never asked what she had done before raising Lily alone. By sunrise, one missing girl would expose a secret designed to survive every complaint, except hers. Stay until the end, because the final name on that file changes everything. At 4:16 a.m., the chain on Mara Ellis's apartment door jumped with the first blow. "Ms. Ellis, open the door." Ray Caldwell's voice filled the hallway. The radiator clicked twice, then died. Cold air slipped through the frame above Mara's socks. She held her phone in one hand, the recording screen still lit. "State your business." "We're here to recover confidential clinic property." "My phone isn't clinic property." Another knock. The brass chain shivered. Downstairs, a dog began barking. Ray lowered his voice. "You recorded a protected call. Hand over the device, and this ends calmly." On the table, Lily's school photograph leaned against an unopened bill. 17. Dark curls pinned behind one ear, smiling as if the camera had interrupted a joke. "What happened to my daughter?" No one answered. A woman behind Ray murmured, "Maybe we should wait." "Stay out of this," he said. Blue light slid beneath the door. "Ms. Ellis?" called another voice. "Bellwether Police. Open the door so we can check on you." "Who requested the welfare check?" "Riverstone Behavioral Center reported that you may be in crisis." Mara closed her eyes for one breath. The hall smelled of wet wool and lemon cleaner. "Officer, a Riverstone nurse called me at 11:47 p.m. She said my missing daughter was never discharged. 4 hours later, their security chief is here demanding my phone." Ray stepped closer. "That nurse violated policy. We need to contain private medical information." "Contain it from whom?" "From being misunderstood." Mara opened the door 3 inches, leaving the chain fastened. Officer Tessa Morgan stood nearest, 34, rain shining on her uniform. She studied Mara's phone, then Ray's folder. 2 clinic employees waited behind him, looking at the floor. Tessa asked, "Are you alone?" "Yes." "Do you intend to harm yourself or anyone else?" "No." Ray exhaled. "She's unstable. She has harassed staff for weeks." Mara lifted the phone. "Then say it again while this records." Tessa turned to Ray. "Do you have a court order for the device?" "We have a privacy emergency." "That isn't a court order." The elevator chimed. Its doors opened onto an empty car smelling of hot metal, then closed. Ray opened his folder. She obtained information concerning multiple minors. "We cannot allow dissemination." Mara's thumb stopped above the screen. The caller mentioned only Lily. Tessa's eyes sharpened. "Then why did you say multiple minors?" Ray did not move. Behind him, the younger employee crushed a paper cup. Coffee slipped over her knuckles, but she did not seem to feel it. Tessa faced Mara. "Keep the chain on. Email the recording to yourself and someone you trust." "Officer," Ray said, "you are interfering with a clinical matter." "No, I'm preserving potential evidence." Mara sent copies to herself and Thomas's former attorney. The progress bar crawled while rain tapped the stairwell window. 20%, 59, 84. Ray stepped forward. Tessa moved between him and the door. The upload finished with a soft chime. Then Mara's phone vibrated again. A message from an unknown number filled the screen. They moved her before midnight. At 6:42 the previous morning, Mara pressed the headset tighter while a driver complained about black ice on Route 18. "Take the service road," she said. "The bridge freezes first." A printer coughed behind her. Fluorescent light flattened the dispatch room, and burnt coffee clung to the air. Lily's school photograph leaned against unpaid envelopes on Mara's desk. When the driver signed off, she dialed Riverstone. "Patient services." "This is Mara Ellis. I'm calling about Lily Ellis." Keys clicked. "Ms. Ellis, we've discussed this." "Then tell me what time she left." 38. Celia ran patient services with silver glasses, pale nails, and a voice that always sounded rehearsed. "Your daughter discharged herself 6 weeks ago." "She was 17. She exercised the rights available to her." "Under what authorization?" "We cannot provide legal interpretation. I'm asking for a time." The heating vent rattled. Across the room, a driver lowered his radio. Celia said, "Lily requested that her location remain confidential. Before or after signing the discharge form? I'm not permitted to discuss protected information. You just told me what she requested." The silence changed. Mara played Lily's last voicemail. "Mom, I know you're working. Don't call the front desk. Something here is..." An inhale, a scrape, then nothing. Mara let the empty seconds run. Celia's keys stopped. "What was that?" "My daughter's last message. I can't authenticate a recording." "You recognized her." "I did not say that." At 6:47, dawn pressed weakly against wired glass. "Celia, I never signed permission for an independent discharge. Lily's intake form requires my acknowledgement unless a court changes custody. No court did. That may not be the current version. Send me the current version. Our archive is undergoing maintenance." "For 6 weeks?" A door closed on Celia's end. When she returned, her voice had lost its polished rhythm. "Continuing these calls may be considered disruptive. Is Lily safe? You need to respect her choice." "That wasn't my question." Louise set a fresh cup beside her. Steam warmed 2 fingers. The others stayed numb. Celia whispered, "I've told you what I'm authorized to tell you." "Who authorized it?" The call ended. Mara dialed again. A recording said the office was closed. At 7:03, her supervisor appeared. "You going home?" "In a minute." "You said that yesterday." "Can you cover my first hour tonight?" He glanced at Lily's photograph. "Where are you going?" "To ask for the paper they keep quoting." Outside, sleet ticked against the parking lot lights. Mara pulled on her faded navy coat and fastened the single button that still held. At the bus shelter, she replayed Lily's message through one earbud. A truck hissed through slush. She nearly missed it. Beneath Lily's cut-off breath came a metallic rattle, wheels crossing a grooved floor. Then a man's voice, distant but clear. "Not through the front." Mara rewound 5 seconds and listened until the bus arrived. Riverstone said Lily had walked out alone. Someone on that recording had been choosing which door she would use. At 9:18 a.m., Mara entered Riverstone with sleet melting from her navy coat. The lobby smelled of citrus polish and overheated carpet. A wall fountain whispered beside framed certificates. Behind reception, Emma Reed looked barely older than Lily. 23, copper braid, thumbnail pressed to every page before she turned it. "I need Lily Ellis's original discharge form." Emma's smile flickered. "Do you have an appointment?" "I have 6 weeks of unanswered calls." A man in a charcoal suit crossed the lobby. Dr. Grant Vale, 51, silver at the temples, spoke with practiced authority. "Ms. Ellis, I'm told you're distressed." "I'm asking for a document." "We understand separation can be difficult for a parent." Two mothers near the fountain stopped talking. A father lowered his magazine. Mara unbuttoned her coat. The top button hung by threads, so she fastened the only solid one. "What time did Lily leave?" "Your daughter made an independent choice." "She was 17. She was approaching adulthood and receiving guidance." "Show me her signature." Vale folded his hands. "Records cannot be displayed in a public lobby." "Then take me somewhere private." "That would not be clinically advisable while you're emotionally disoriented," the fountain whispered. No one spoke. Mara looked at Emma. "You have the file open." Emma's hand covered half a form. The visible signature slanted sharply upward. On the intake sheet beneath it, Lily's writing curved left, each capital L looped low. "Those signatures don't match," Mara said. Emma's thumbnail stopped. Vale stepped behind the desk and closed the folder. "Untrained comparisons are unreliable. I didn't say they proved anything." "You implied forgery." "No, you did." One mother looked down. The father folded his magazine until the paper split. Vale lowered his voice. "Your repeated contact is becoming disruptive. You offered me a support group after losing my daughter. We did not lose her. Then tell me where she is. I cannot violate her privacy because you refuse to accept her decision." Mara placed the voicemail transcript on the counter. "She called from this building. She said something was wrong. Then the message stopped." Vale never looked at it. "Young people often use dramatic language during treatment." Emma did. Her lips parted at the unfinished line. "I want a certified copy of the discharge form, the transport log, and the employee who witnessed her exit. That request must go through counsel." "Whose?" "Riverstone's." "Not mine?" Vale's jaw shifted. "Ray will escort you out." A broad man appeared from the east corridor, security badge high on his belt. He stopped close enough for Mara to smell peppermint. "Ma'am." Mara folded the transcript. "I'm leaving." Emma dropped a pen. It rolled beneath the counter. Mara bent to retrieve it. For a second, the file lay exposed. Lily's old signature curved across the intake sheet. Beside the discharge line, fresh blue ink shone under the lamp. "Thank you," Mara said, returning the pen. Outside, sleet had become rain. Through the glass, Emma watched Vale carry the folder toward a locked records room. Before the door closed, Mara saw Emma mouth two words. "Come back." At 10:07 a.m., Mara returned to Riverstone with rain darkening her coat. Emma Reed was alone at reception, sorting intake packets. Her copper braid had loosened, and blue ink marked her hand. "I need a certified copy of Lily's discharge form." Emma glanced toward the records door. "The archive is unavailable. Dr. Vale said the file was here. It was pulled for review." "Then copy the page. The system is being updated." Mara rested both palms on the warm counter. "Paper doesn't need an update." Celia Brooks emerged carrying a tablet. Her silver glasses sat perfectly level. "Ms. Ellis, you were asked to leave." "I did. Now I'm making a records request." "You may submit one by mail." "I submitted 3. Mara laid down certified mail receipts and a fax confirmation. Celia did not touch them. "Those prove delivery, not validity." "What makes a request valid?" "The correct form." "Send it to me. Our portal is under maintenance." Emma looked down. Mara opened her notebook. "Who witnessed Lily's discharge?" "I cannot disclose personnel information." "What time was it entered?" "That is protected." "Which policy lets a minor disappear without parental acknowledgement?" "Your phrasing is inflammatory." "My daughter is missing." "Your daughter left care." "Show me the original." Celia opened a thin folder. "You may inspect this copy for 30 seconds. No photographs." The page smelled of toner. Mara studied the header before the signature. November 12. Yes. The date format is wrong. Celia blinked. Riverstone uses month, day, year. This says day, month, year. A template variation. The unit code says Adolescent East. That wing closed in September. Emma's fingers stopped moving. Celia reached for the page. Mara held it flat with one fingertip. And these initials. JM. Who is that? A staff witness. JM wasn't working that day. Celia's face stilled. You have no access to staffing schedules. You posted the holiday roster in the lobby. I read it while Dr. Vale explained my daughter to me. The overhead light hummed. Fresh blue ink along Lily's name shone against the older black print. Mara lifted her finger. This document was signed recently. That is speculation. Then let an independent examiner decide. Celia snapped the folder shut. This meeting is over. A phone rang. Emma answered, listened, and said, Yes, Dr. Vale. She wrote one line on a message pad, tore it off, then crushed it when Celia turned. Security is coming, Celia said. Mara buttoned her coat. Keep the receipts. You'll need the dates. Outside, rain struck the awning in silver lines. Mara opened her umbrella and waited beside a brick column. 3 minutes later, Emma emerged carrying an empty recycling bin. She did not look at Mara. As she passed, her hand brushed Mara's sleeve. A damp scrap caught beneath the cuff. File 7, B-441, East Camera. Ask for transport log. Mara looked up. Emma was already inside, rubbing the blue number from her palm. Before leaving, Mara photographed her own receipts on the sidewalk. Through the glass, Celia carried Lily's folder toward the locked room, while a red camera light blinked above the east corridor. At 7:36, Mara found the envelope pushed beneath her apartment door. The paper was damp and unstamped. Inside was a Riverstone statement for $18,640, marked Final Notice in red. She carried it to the kitchen without removing her coat. The radiator clicked behind the wall, and onion soup cooled beside Lily's empty chair. Mara read the service dates, November 13th through December 2nd. Riverstone claimed Lily had discharged herself on November 12th. Her phone rang. Ms. Ellis, Nolan Pierce from Alliance Claims. You called about a dependent. His voice was young and calm. I have a bill for treatment after my daughter supposedly left. Member number? Mara read it. Keys tapped. I see inpatient behavioral claims. For what dates? A pause. November 13 through December 2. A skin had formed on the soup. Mara touched the red line crossing Lily's name. Who submitted them? I'm not authorized to identify providers beyond the statement. It says Riverstone. Did they submit them? More typing. A printer started near him. Yes. Were they paid? Partially. What patient status code did they use? Nolan went quiet. How do you know there is a status code? Because claims require one. I'm placing you on hold. Soft piano filled the kitchen. Mara lined her gloves beside the bowl. Lily's grocery list still ended with strawberries in green ink. Nolan returned. The claims indicate continuous residential care. Continuous? Yes. So either my daughter remained in treatment, or Riverstone billed for care it didn't provide. I can't interpret that. Read me the discharge date attached to the claim. I shouldn't. You confirmed the treatment period. His chair creaked. December 2nd. Mara wrote it beneath File 7B-441. Was there a transfer code? Only distant voices remained. Nolan? I'm being told to end the call. By whom? My supervisor. Before you do, Preserve the call log. I can't promise that. You can note that a parent reported conflicting discharge dates. A swallow clicked near the microphone. I can enter a member concern. Use the word discrepancy. All right. A sharper voice spoke behind him. Nolan said quickly, I'm sorry. I can't discuss this account further. Did Riverstone contact you? The call disconnected. Mara held receiver to her ear. The apartment smelled of cold broth and wet wool. A television audience laughed through the wall. She photographed each page and sleeved the statement. The red stripe ran through Lily Ellis as if the debt had crossed out the person. At 7:54, an email arrived from Riverstone. Cease direct contact with staff. It warned that further inquiries could affect Mara's access to Lily's records. She printed it, folded it into thirds, and placed it beneath Emma's note. Then she saw the billing address. The claims had not come from Riverstone's main campus. They came through a satellite account at 214 East Calder Road. Mara opened a city map. The address sat beside an old freight branch, 6 miles from the clinic. She played Lily's voicemail again. Under the scrape and the distant man's voice came the same hollow rhythm shown on the transit map, a train passing close enough to shake the windows. At 10:31 the next morning, Mara stood beneath the camera over Riverstone's east exit. A red indicator glowed above the lens. Ray Caldwell stepped between her and the door. You were told not to return. I'm on the public walkway. You're photographing private property. I'm photographing a working camera. Ray glanced up. That unit has been offline for weeks. The light blinked again. Behind Mara, someone cleared her throat. Janet Hall, 56, silver hair beneath a wool cap, held her phone chest high. Looks lively for a dead camera, Janet said. Ma'am, put that away. Why? Patient privacy. No patients are in the frame. Mara kept her eyes on Ray. I want the footage from November 12, 4 to 8 p.m. You don't have standing. My daughter supposedly left through this building. She signed herself out. Then the video proves you. A delivery cart rattled inside. The inner door opened, releasing warm air that smelled of bleach. Ray moved closer. You're creating a disturbance. Rain slicked the folder under Mara's arm. The cold had numbed her fingertips, but she kept the folder level so the ink would not run. I asked for a copy. You demanded restricted material. I asked for a transport log too. His eyes flicked toward the folder. Janet noticed. What transport log? This is not your concern. My grandson sleeps 10 rooms from that hallway. 2 parents watched through the glass. Emma froze behind reception as Celia lowered the blinds halfway. Mara raised her voice only enough to carry through the door. Was Lily taken through the east exit? Ray reached for the folder. You need to leave. Mara stepped back. His hand closed on empty air. Janet's phone tilted, but kept recording. Don't touch her, she said. I didn't. You tried. Inside, one parent looked away. Another stayed. Ray pressed his shoulder radio. Assistance at East Access. Mara pointed upward. Preserve the footage before anyone deletes it. That footage doesn't exist. Then why is the recording light on? It's a status light. For what? He had no answer. Rainwater hissed from the awning. Janet moved beside Mara, narrowing the space Ray had tried to control. I'll send you the video, she whispered. Ray heard. Sharing it could expose you to legal action. Janet looked over her phone. Then spell your name clearly. For the first time, Ray stepped back. The east door opened. Emma emerged carrying a clear trash bag. She bent as if fixing the knot and let a laminated card slide beneath the bench. "Emma?" Ray barked. She flinched and hurried inside. Mara waited until the door sealed, then crouched. The card showed a vehicle checklist stamped November 12th. One line had been blacked out, but the carbon impression remained visible. Unit 3. Departure 6:40 p.m. Destination: Calder Annex. At the bottom was Ray Caldwell's signature. A siren sounded 2 blocks away and grew louder. Ray stared at the card in Mara's hand. "You don't understand what you found." Mara slipped it into her folder. "Then explain it before they arrive." Above them, the red camera light blinked again as Ray reached for his radio and said her name. The patrol car stopped at 10:36 a.m., tires whispering over the wet curb. Officer Tessa Morgan stepped out first. Rain dotted her hair as she looked from Mara's folder to Ray. "Who called?" "I did," Ray said. "She's trespassing and harassing staff." Mara stood beneath the awning, holding the transport card. "I'm on a public walkway." She removed clinic property. "It was under the bench," Janet said, still recording. "I watched it fall." Dean Harper, 48, came around the car with a coffee stain on one cuff. He glanced at the glass doors, then at Mara's faded coat. "Ma'am, put the card down." Mara placed it on the bench. "Preserve it. It lists my daughter's transfer after Riverstone says she left." Dean sighed. "This is a civil records dispute. My daughter is missing. Riverstone says she discharged herself. Their billing says she remained in care." Tessa looked up. "You have that?" Mara opened the folder. The damp statement felt waxy. A red overdue line crossed Lily's name. Ray stepped forward. "Those are confidential documents." "They were mailed to me." "Ms. Ellis has been escalating," he told Dean. "Dr. Vale believes she may be in crisis." Behind the glass, parents gathered. Celia stood with folded arms. Emma held files against her chest until the corners bent. Dean nodded toward Mara. "Turn around." Janet lowered her phone. "For what?" "Failure to leave after notice." "I left yesterday," Mara said. "No one gave me a lawful order today." Dean reached for her wrist. The cuff touched her skin, cold enough to make her fingers open. The transport card slid from the bench and landed face up in a puddle. Mara did not pull away. "Please," she said to Tessa, "read the destination before the ink runs." No one moved. Rain ticked against Janet's phone. Inside, the lobby fountain whispered. One watching father turned toward the wall. Tessa lifted the card by its edges. "Calder Annex, November 12th, 6:40 p.m. Ray's radio crackled. Tessa glanced at the camera above the exit. Its red indicator blinked. "You said that camera was offline?" "It was. It's active now. A light proves nothing. Then the footage will." Dean fastened the second cuff. The metal pressed beneath Mara's sleeve. Ray opened the east door. "We're done here." Mara looked at Emma. The receptionist's lips moved without sound. "Sorry." Tessa slipped the card into an evidence sleeve. Dean frowned. "Why are you logging that?" "It may relate to a missing minor." "Riverstone's counsel will address any misunderstanding," Ray said. Tessa held up the bill. Treatment continued through December 2nd. Accounting delay. The card says Calder Annex. A partner facility. Mara raised her head. "Then you knew where she was." The parents went still. Ray reached for the door, but Tessa blocked it with one boot. "Where is Lily Ellis now?" "I'm not authorized to discuss patients." "You were authorized to have her mother arrested?" Dean's grip loosened. Dr. Vale appeared down the corridor and pointed toward Mara. Emma stepped backward. A white box fell from the files in her arms. It struck the tile and opened. 3 patient wristbands spilled out, each marked discharged. One bore Lily's name. At 11:14 a.m., the temporary order slid across the clerk's counter. 200 yards from Riverstone, Dean Harper said. No calls to staff. No indirect contact. Mara read every line before signing. Pale bands circled her wrists. Tessa stood by the vending machines. This doesn't stop her reporting a missing child. It prevents escalation, Dean said. Whose? Mara asked. He looked away. Outside, rain needled the steps. Janet waited beneath the arch, her phone under plastic. I sent the video to you and my daughter, she said. I know a reporter too. Don't post it yet. After what they did? If it goes public now, they'll call it harassment. Janet studied her. You've done this before. A long time ago. At home, Mara locked the door and pulled a cardboard box from the closet. Dust rasped her palms. Beneath Thomas's scarf lay an old investigator credential, case notebooks, and her wedding ring on its chain. She placed the badge on the kitchen table. The photograph under it showed Thomas laughing beside a younger Mara outside court. On the back, choose what lets you come home. 6 years earlier, after a witness followed her from work, Thomas had asked her to leave the fraud unit. 2 months later, his heart failed before either admitted their fear. Mara touched the ring. I came home, she whispered. You didn't. The refrigerator stopped humming. Tessa's message read, I can request a welfare check at Calder, but Riverstone says Lily isn't there. Mara typed to Riverstone's attorney, I will comply with the order. The cursor blinked. One wrong move let Vale claim she endangered Lily. Stopping might erase the last proof. She closed the laptop. At 12:03 p.m., Lily's voicemail played. Mom, I know you're working. Don't call the front desk. Something here is... The scrape followed. Then a hollow rattle she had mistaken for a cart. She replayed it. Beneath Lily's breath came 2 low notes, a pause, then one metallic warning. Mara opened a rail map. Riverstone was 4 miles from the nearest freight crossing. Calder Road ran beside one. She missed the marker cap twice. On the recording, a man said, not through the front. Then came a hydraulic door and 3 quick beeps. Mara knew that alarm. Medical vans made it when wheelchair lifts deployed. She spread the bill, vehicle card, and Emma's note across the table. Unit 3. Departure 6:40. p.m. Calder Annex. The order covered Riverstone, not its vehicles. She called dispatch. Luis answered. You're supposed to be sleeping. I need a fleet lookup. Unit 3. November 12th. Keys clicked. A heater roared. That account's restricted. By whom? Riverstone called this morning. No trip details without counsel. Read me the pickup GPS. I could lose my job. So could the person who drove my daughter. Finally, Luis said, there was no pickup at Riverstone. Mara stood. Where? Calder Annex, 6:38 p.m. Destination? I don't have one. The trip was canceled after boarding. Mara gripped the chair. Then the voicemail continued, past the point where she had always stopped it. A train horn sounded once, and a girl whispered, Mom, they're moving us again. At 11:47 p.m., Mara's phone rang from a blocked number. She answered before the second vibration. Ms. Ellis, the woman whispered through static. My name is Nina Park. I'm 31. I work nights here as a nurse. Mara stood beside the kitchen table, where the badge, ring, bill, and transport card formed a crooked square. Where is Lily? A door clicked on Nina's end. Don't say my name again. I'm using a prepaid phone. Is my daughter alive? Yes. The word loosened Mara's knees. She sat without removing her coat. The vinyl chair was cold through the fabric. Where? Calder Annex, for now. Outside, a freight horn sounded beyond the apartment blocks. Mara pressed record. Nina continued. Lily was never discharged. Riverstone changed her status after she saw staff copying parent signatures onto transfer forms. How many patients? I don't know. More than Lily. A cart squealed near Nina. She stopped speaking until it passed. What did Lily see? Consent pages, blank forms with signatures already attached. She confronted Dr. Vale, and he called it confusion caused by treatment. Why move her? They said she was influencing other patients. Who authorized Calder? Vale. Celia entered the order. Ray signed transport. Mara looked at the card in its plastic sleeve. Why call me now? Because tomorrow morning they're moving her again. The radiator knocked once. To where? I wasn't told. The destination field is blank. What time? Before 6. Mara checked the clock. 11:49. Can you get her to a public entrance? No, the north wing is locked. I don't have override access. Can Lily speak? She's awake. She knows you kept calling. Something scraped near the receiver. Then Lily's voice, thin and rushed. Mom? Mara covered her mouth. I'm here. They said you stopped. I didn't. I knew. 2 words, and Mara had to steady the phone against her cheek. A man called down the corridor. Nina whispered, I have seconds. Mara forced her voice level. Don't try to leave. Don't argue. Stay where there are cameras. There aren't cameras in this hall, Lily said. The line crackled. What can you see? A green exit sign, laundry carts, a window with wire in it. Can you hear trains? One just passed. Anything with an address. Mom. Footsteps approached. Nina took the phone. The building used to be St. Orison Sanatorium, East Service Road beside the freight branch. That's all I know. Send a photograph of any door plate. I can't risk it. You already did. Nina went quiet. Mara softened her voice. I'm not asking you to be brave. Leave one fact they can't erase. A lock turned. Nina whispered, Room N-17. The call ended. Mara copied the recording to 3 accounts and texted Tessa. Missing minor confirmed at Calder Annex. Transfer planned before 6 a.m. Caller identifies Vale, Celia, and Ray. No reply. At 11:53, an image arrived from the prepaid number. A blurred metal plate reading, North Wing, authorized staff only. Below it, barely visible in the reflection, stood Lily. Behind her, someone was pushing an empty wheelchair toward the service elevator. At 12:01 a.m., Mara called Tessa Morgan. Wind pressed against Tessa's microphone. I got your message. What do you have? A recorded call from a nurse at Calder Annex. Lily spoke. They plan to move her before 6. Send everything. I already did. Can you request an emergency welfare check? I can request one. Command may refuse without confirming the source. The source is inside. And anonymous. Because Riverstone will fire her. Tessa exhaled. Stay home. Do not go to Calder. I'm under an order concerning Riverstone. Mara. I heard you. She copied the recording again. Thomas's ring lay beside her old badge. At 12:18, tires hissed on the wet street. A hard knock shook the chain. Ms. Ellis, Ray Caldwell called. Open the door. Through the peephole, Ray stood with 2 clinic employees. One rubbed coffee from her knuckles. What do you want? Property containing confidential patient information. My phone is not your property. You recorded a protected clinical conversation. How do you know? Ray's mouth tightened. Open the door. Another knock. The chain trembled. Blue light rolled across the ceiling. Tessa came up the stairs with Dean Harper behind her. We reported an escalating mental health crisis. Tessa faced the door. Mara, are you alone? Yes. Are you planning to harm yourself or anyone else? No. Ray stepped closer. Her behavior has become obsessive. She's distributing private records. Mara opened the door 3 inches, leaving the chain latched. Cold air slid over her feet. Ask him why a private clinic sent security to seize evidence before police checked the address I gave you. Dean looked at Ray. Do you have a warrant? This is a medical privacy emergency. That isn't a warrant, Tessa said. Ray lowered his voice. The recording mentions other minors. We must prevent unlawful disclosure. The nurse mentioned only Lily. Tessa looked at Ray. How do you know other minors are involved? The younger employee froze. No one answered. Email the recording to someone outside this building, Tessa told Mara. Ray reached toward the gap. Tessa stepped between him and the door. Back up. Mara sent the file to Thomas's former attorney. The upload bar crawled. 31%. 68. Dean shifted. Command hasn't authorized a search. I'm preserving evidence. You're creating liability. So is ignoring a missing child. The upload finished with a soft chime. Tessa took the phone long enough to watch the blurred north wing plate and hear Lily say, They said you stopped. Dean's face changed. Tessa activated her body camera. The red indicator steadied. This file is now part of an active missing person inquiry, she said. Any attempt to remove or destroy it will be documented. Ray's polished calm cracked. You don't understand the clinical context. Then explain it at the station. Mara's phone vibrated. Unknown number. They moved her before midnight. A second message appeared. Unit 3 left Calder at 11:58. No destination logged. Tessa read it through the narrow opening, then looked at Dean. Call dispatch, she said. We're not going to Calder anymore. At 12:07 a.m., Tessa's radio crackled with a plate match. Unit 3, white medical transport van, eastbound on Calder Service Road. Dean was already moving. County unit is 6 minutes out. Too long, Tessa said. Mara, stay here. Mara looked at Ray. He knows where they're taking her. Ray said nothing. Tessa held his gaze. Tell me now, or explain why you let a missing minor disappear twice. The younger clinic employee began crying silently. Coffee had dried across her cuff. Ray's jaw tightened. Old St. Orison, north entrance. That's Calder, Mara said. They cleared the annex. The van circles back through the freight yard when they think they're watched. Tessa raised her radio. Redirect all units to St. Orison North Service Road. Possible concealed transport involving minors. By 12:26, sleet struck the patrol car. Mara sat in back under a gray emergency blanket smelling of plastic and dust. St. Orison rose beyond the tracks, 4 stories of black windows and pale brick. A green exit sign glowed behind frosted glass. A child services investigator unlocked the side entrance. The building answered with humming pipes, rubber wheels, and a distant crossing bell. Dr. Iris Mendez met them by the stairwell. 45, dark hair streaked at one temple. She wore scrubs without a coat. I'm the independent pediatric psychiatrist on call, she said. You may come to the north wing, but you cannot rush her. Is Lily there? Iris studied Mara before answering. Yes. They crossed a tiled hall smelling of bleach and damp plaster. At the 4th door, Iris raised one hand. She's been told for weeks that contact with you would worsen your condition. Mara gripped the blanket. Does she believe that? She doesn't know what to believe. A shadow moved behind the frosted panel. Mara stepped closer, but left the handle untouched. Lily? Nothing. Then a palm appeared against the glass. Mara placed her hand over it. The pain was cold enough to sting. I'm here. On the other side, Lily's fingers spread. I kept calling, Mara whispered. The door stayed closed while Iris checked Lily, asked 3 quiet questions, and confirmed she wanted the meeting. Mara waited as sleet ticked against the wired window. Finally, the latch clicked. Lily was thinner, in gray clinic socks and an oversized sweatshirt. Her curls had been cut unevenly near one ear. She stopped 2 steps away. They said you signed the transfer. I didn't. They said you asked them not to let me call. I never did. Lily's chin trembled. I thought maybe I scared you. Mara opened her arms, but did not move closer. Lily crossed the distance herself. For several seconds, there was only the dry rasp of the emergency blanket between them. Over Lily's shoulder, 2 other teenagers watched from separate doorways. Iris followed Mara's gaze. Their records also say discharged. Tessa turned to the investigator. How many? 7 in this wing. A cart squealed at the far end of the hall. On its top shelf lay blank consent forms, each already bearing a parent's signature. Iris lifted the first page. The name beneath the signature was not Lily's. It belonged to another mother who had been told her son had gone home. At 9:12 a.m., the emergency hearing began under white courtroom lights. Mara sat beside Thomas's former attorney with Lily's records before her. Grant Vale adjusted his tie. Beside him, Adrian Kell, 54, deputy district attorney and Riverstone trustee, covered a legal pad. Judge Helen Ward entered without looking at either side. 59, silver-haired. She made rooms lower their voices. Dr. Vale, where was Lily Ellis between November 12th and last night? She remained in care under an authorized transfer. Authorized by whom? Her treatment team. The transport card slid forward. Her mother was told she discharged herself. Communication errors occurred. Behind Mara, Lily's fingers tightened around her sleeve. Was Ms. Ellis informed? Privacy considerations limited contact. She was the legal guardian. Kell stood. The center acted to protect a vulnerable minor from family pressure. Mara turned one page. May I ask him something? She faced Vale. Which form authorized Calder Annex? The transfer consent. Signed when? November 12th. By whom? Vale glanced at Kell. The guardian's signature appears on the document. I didn't ask what appears. The court reporter's keys stopped. Mara placed Lily's intake signature beside the transfer page. The date format is wrong. The unit code was retired. The witness initials belonged to someone off duty. The electronic approval was added 3 days later. Kell said, Ms. Ellis is not a document examiner. No, I was senior investigator in healthcare fraud for the state attorney's office. Vale's smile disappeared. I spent 9 years tracing altered consents, duplicate claims, and transfers used to keep patients billable after families asked questions, Mara said. Judge Ward leaned forward. Why was that not disclosed? Because a former title should not be required for a mother to be believed about a missing child. Mara set down the bill. Riverstone said Lily left on November 12th. It billed continuous care through December 2nd. Then it moved her through an unlisted annex and marked 7 minors discharged while retaining custody. Vale rose. That is inflammatory. Sit down, Judge Ward said. Mara opened the final file. This is the approval log for Lily's transfer. Kell's pen stopped. The user account belongs to Adrian Kell. Administrative access does not prove authorship. The login came from your office network at 8:43 p.m. The same account closed a complaint against Riverstone 2 years ago. That matter lacked evidence, and 6 months later you joined its board. Judge Ward turned the page. The paper rasped in the quiet. She read the signature twice. Her pen stayed above the margin. Mr. Kell, did you authorize the confinement of a minor in a facility not named in her treatment agreement? He looked toward Vale. Vale looked at the floor. Behind Mara, Lily whispered, "Mom." Mara reached back. Lily placed 2 fingers in her palm. Judge Ward closed the file. No patient leaves this court's protection today. No Riverstone record is to be altered, moved, or destroyed. The rear doors opened. 2 state investigators entered. Kell stared at the first label. Riverstone, Board Archives. At 10:04 a.m., the first witness took the stand. Nina Park folded her hands until her knuckles blanched beneath the courtroom lights. "State your role," Judge Ward said. "Night nurse at Calder Annex." "Did Lily Ellis discharge herself?" "No." Vale's attorney rose. "Were you authorized to discuss patient records?" Nina looked toward Lily. "I was authorized to keep patients safe." "That was not my question." "No," Nina said. "It was mine." A murmur moved through the gallery and died under Judge Ward's glance. Nina described blank consent forms, transfer orders entered after midnight, and instructions to mark minors as discharged before moving them. Her voice stayed even until the clerk displayed the blurred north wing photograph. "That was mine," she said. "Why take it?" "Because paper disappears." Outside the hearing room, Emma Reed waited with her copper braid loose over one shoulder. When called, she carried 3 folders to the stand. "I changed intake dates when Celia told me to," she said. "At first I thought I was correcting clerical errors." "When did that change?" Emma opened her palm. A faint blue mark remained near her thumb. "When I saw Lily's signature copied onto a form she never touched." Mara watched her rub the spot as if 6 weeks of washing had not removed it. Janet Hall testified next. She set her phone on the evidence table and played the video from the east exit. Ray's voice filled the room. "That camera has been offline for weeks." Then the red indicator blinked above him. Several reporters wrote at once. Nolan Pierce appeared by video from a small insurance office. He kept glancing beyond the screen. "Were claims submitted after Lily's reported discharge?" the investigator asked. "Yes." "By whom?" "Riverstone's satellite billing account." "Did anyone ask you to end your call with Ms. Ellis?" Nolan swallowed. "My supervisor." "Why?" "He said Riverstone's counsel had contacted compliance." A chair scraped behind Vale. Celia Brooks entered carrying a gray evidence case. Her silver glasses were crooked for the first time Mara had seen. "I want to amend my statement," Celia said. Vale stood. "You have counsel." "I know." She set the case before the clerk. Inside was a backup drive wrapped in an anti-static sleeve. "I changed patient statuses under Dr. Vale's instruction," she said. "Mr. Kell's office approved the transfer template. I kept a copy because every correction erased the name of whoever ordered it." "Why keep it?" Judge Ward asked. Celia looked at Mara. "Because I knew one day they would leave only mine." Ray was called last. He stared at the floor while transport logs appeared on the monitor. "Is that your signature?" "Yes." "Did you verify the destinations?" "No." "Did you ask why discharged minors were transported at night?" Ray's shoulders sank. "No." In the second row, Lily sat beside Iris Mendez. When Ray finally looked up, she did not turn away. The clerk connected Celia's drive. Rows of names filled the screen. Dates, transfers, deleted objections. Then a final column opened. Each entry listed the staff member assigned to silence the parent complaint. Beside Mara Ellis's name were 4 words: unstable, discredit before contact. At 2:18 p.m., a settlement check crossed the table. Mara left it. Riverstone's attorneys sat beneath pale lights. Ruth Calloway, 62, chair of the State Licensing Commission, opened a yellow legal pad. "The amount covers counseling, lost wages, and distress," an attorney said. "What does it require?" "A mutual release." "And silence." "A standard non-disparagement clause." Lily sat beside Iris Mendez, hands around a paper cup. The lid clicked whenever her grip tightened. Mara pushed the check back and placed a handwritten list beside it. 10 names from the annex files and 2 children with no current address. "This is what matters." Ruth uncapped her pen. "What do you want?" "Notice before any minor is transferred. 1 copy to the guardian, 1 to a state portal." "That creates an operational burden," the attorney said. "So did finding my daughter." Rain tapped the windows. "External audits of consent signatures," Mara continued. "No patient marked discharged while still in custody. A reporting line outside clinic management. And enforcement? Unannounced inspections. Billing matched against the physical census. Automatic review when a parent says a child's location is withheld. A commissioner shifted. Statewide rules because of one provider? Celia's backup drive sat sealed near the window. One provider showed you where the gaps are. "Would you accept a pilot program?" Ruth asked. "No." "It may be faster." "Then issue temporary emergency rules and give lawmakers 6 months. Ruth's pen stopped. "You have done this before." "I have watched institutions wait for attention to fade." The attorney closed his folder. "My clients cannot accept language implying systemic misconduct." Lily spoke before Mara could. "You wrote that my mother was unstable before anyone called her." Her voice was quiet, but the attorney lowered his eyes. "You told me she stopped trying. If these rules are too difficult, explain which part was easier for me." The cup crumpled. Iris took it away. Ruth closed her pad. "Riverstone's license will be suspended today. Beginning Monday, every minor's transfer will require dual notification." The commissioner frowned. "We have not voted." "We will in 17 minutes. "What about signature review?" Mara asked. "A 30-day audit. Any discrepancy triggers full examination." "And the hotline?" Ruth slid a draft across the table. "Independent contractor. Providers cannot see caller identities." Mara read each line. The room smelled of wet wool and bitter coffee. "What happens to Vale and Kell?" Lily asked. "The criminal inquiry is separate," Ruth said. "Neither will control a facility while it proceeds. Ray Caldwell's certification is suspended." Mara folded the draft but left the check. At 3:07, the commission voted unanimously. Reporters waited beyond the glass doors. Mara walked past them with Lily, matching her slower steps. At the elevator, Lily turned. "They listened because you knew the system." Mara pressed the lobby button. "No," she said. "They changed it because you survived what they called paperwork." The doors closed. On the final page, beneath the new rules, one blank line remained. Name of first independent hotline operator. 3 months later, Lily placed 2 mugs on the kitchen table and turned both handles toward Mara. The apartment smelled of cinnamon tea and wet pavement. Between the mugs stood Thomas's photograph, no longer buried in a box. "You still take yours without sugar?" Lily asked. "I still forget to drink it." "That part I remember." Her curls had begun to grow past the uneven cut near her ear. She attended school 4 mornings a week, with Iris Mendez checking in every Friday. Mara had stopped measuring progress by how much she said. The new hotline rang at 6:14 p.m. On the commission form, the final blank line now held Mara's name, Independent Family Advocate. Lily nodded toward the phone. "You should answer." A woman whispered that a treatment center had moved her son without telling her. Mara opened a fresh file. "Start with the last time you heard his voice," she said. The woman's breathing slowed enough to speak. Mara wrote down every word. That week, the state released its first audit. Every minor transfer now triggered notices to a guardian, an independent advocate, and the state portal before a vehicle could leave. Nina Park joined the Patient Protection Office and no longer needed disposable phones. Emma Reed entered records compliance training. Nolan Pierce gave investigators the preserved call log. Janet Hall brought her old phone to the first public hearing. Tessa Morgan received a commendation. Dean Harper completed retraining and later stopped Mara in the courthouse hallway. "I treated the building like it was more credible than you," he said. Mara folded her gloves. "Next time, ask one more question." He nodded. Grant Vale lost his license pending trial on fraud, unlawful confinement, and falsification charges. Adrian Kell resigned from public office and the Riverstone Board. Ray Caldwell's security certification was revoked. Celia Brooks accepted probation and community service after surrendering the backup drive. Twice a week, she helped reconstruct records for families told none existed. No one called those outcomes victory inside Mara's home. On a cold March morning, Lily asked to see Riverstone before its conversion into a public recovery center. They stood across the street while workers removed the polished sign. The lobby fountain lay silent beside a dumpster. "They made everything look calm," Lily said. Mara watched the empty brackets above the doors. Calm isn't the same as safe. Lily slipped her hand into Mara's coat pocket and found the old investigator badge. "Why did you bring this?" "I thought I might need to remember who I was." "Did you?" Mara looked at her daughter. "No." They returned home before the rain. Lily reheated the soup Mara had left untouched the night the first bill arrived. She crossed strawberries off the grocery list, then wrote them back in because Mara had forgotten them. At 7:02, the hotline rang again. Mara reached for it, but Lily straightened Thomas's photograph between their mugs. "Tell her you believe her," Lily said. Mara answered, "I'm listening." Outside, a freight train passed beyond the city, its horn softened by distance. This time, no one disappeared into the sound. Have you ever faced a moment when an institution dismissed your concern? Or when one careful question changed what happened next? Share your experience in the comments. Your story may help someone else recognize that they are not alone. Share this story with someone who believes dignity and justice should never depend on status, confidence, or professional titles. Subscribe for more stories about justice, quiet resilience, and people who push systems to change without losing their humanity. And when someone tells you that something is wrong, pause before judging how calmly they say it. Sometimes the quietest voice in the room has already spent weeks trying to be heard.